This is my Potter's Journal for October 2023. Today on the Potter's Wheel, we're going to be making a pottery pumpkin. Why? Because the garden, this is it. It'll never be the garden what it was back in 2020, 2021. Now, on a Potter's Wheel, when I started, I wasn't feeling good about it. It seemed like I was trying to play a trick. But in the end, something happened, and it came out a treat. Wait till you see what happened in the studio today. Here we go, 4 pounds of clay for our old school pottery pumpkins. Now, there seems a lot of new school pottery pumpkins where they're very shapely. They have maybe a very exaggerated stem and leaves coming off. Maybe a mouse added. They've kind of lost the sense that they're handmade pottery. And that's what I've seen in the Newell Pottery Pumpkins from Georgia. They sold an awful lot of these over the years to garden centers and nurseries to be sold with, fall mums and I guess real pumpkins. But it's very evident what they are, that they're made on a potter's wheel. The first time I saw them, I picked them up and looked on the bottom, and seeing the words Newell Pottery, Georgia, was such a surprise. The surprise being it doesn't say made in Mexico. It says made in the USA on the bottom. And they're only terracotta. I think I have some terracotta clay here. I found some clay from, talk about reclaiming an old bucket that had been here since the early 90s when I last made terracotta. Well, in my past lives as a potter. I tried it at Cone 6 Stoneware, and it kind of bubbled and melted a bit, so I'm hoping that's the only thing wrong with it. But there is a charm to the ones from Newell Pottery. Already I noticed mine are more shapely, more rounded, more moon vase-like. This is probably a good beginner or intermediate project, or if somebody's wanting to make or looking to make moon vases. But they don't have to be as round on the bottom as I'm making them. The Newell Pottery ones are not. They're more, I'm going to say apple shaped, but I think wider on the bottom than the top. And, there must be a charm to them. The old school, very simple, because I've seen them on eBay, and people trying to get on maybe a gallon size or more, $100 and a good some dollars for them. And down here, this may be cheating. I guess a real potter would use all that clay with their fingers and hands, but I'm using a rib. And I guess most beginner intermediates might leave that down there to trim off. A lot of seemingly experienced potters would trim that off, like that. Great deals of it with a metal trim tool. But so maybe I'm not cheating by using the rib and pushing against it and getting all the clay down there. We're starting to give it some shape and bringing the top in. I'm not sure that they're really worth what the people were asking, considering
you know, that they were made in big quantities, but there is a charm to them, and I guess since they're used outside in the late fall, maybe over the years they didn't get put away, and the frost and the cold got to them. Okay, and this top, we could just push this in, but that doesn't develop it as strong as it should be, and it gives it a wobble, so we're gonna, yeah, I guess the term is throw. We are going to bring it in and finish this out the right way. And, okay, I think on the bulging out the side, having the top a little narrower than the bottom actually is the way a real pumpkin is, and it'll make and give the face a little more visibility from looking down on it. And I am coming in and getting, if I can get the angle right, another last little trim, and really rounding off the bottom way more than they did at Newell Pottery, and way more than maybe you have to do. But I do, and you know, it probably is best to finish these now. I don't know that this would be an easy form to come back and trim. Okay, so now the unique feature of Newell's was the hats. And now the little hat. That's what makes the Newell Pottery Pumpkins distinctive. You know, it answers a lot of questions. This is about 10 ounces of clay. It answers a lot of questions that it's not finished, it seems, with the pumpkin just being opened. To put a pumpkin top on it with a stem, you would need to you know, make a lid, a ledge, a rather complicated form for something that this is not something that people are going to pay a lot for. It's outside garden wear. Okay, to make this, we are making, because we've got to fold it down to make the hat, but until then we're making a flared out kind of little base, or I guess you could say that's a miniature flower pot. I think, you know what, I think this is about 10 or 11 ounces of clay, but 9 or 10 would be enough. I've already measured this out, and I'm pruning, yeah, a lot of it off. So, if it wasn't all on there, I wouldn't have to trim it off. Okay. And then, after we did that getting under it part, is when we fold this down. And I'm giving it a little roundness in here, so it'll sit and fit over the pumpkin. And then these are not done yet. Okay, surprise, surprise, yet coming up. Dried overnight to a wet leather hard, the Newell Pottery Pumpkins were not trimmed. And the hats had an awkwardness to them, but it was carried through to the pumpkin. Mine just look awkward, so I trimmed them. So they look now like hats sitting on a head. So this trick is starting to turn out a treat. Okay, I still have another trick up my sleeve. Okay, I hope this turns out a treat. I'm dipping them in black slip. I'm dipping them in black slip. Will it turn out a treat, or will the trick be on me? And recycling scraps from cutting the faces, I used to use a fettling knife for that. But Lee Bass Pottery, okay, I picked this tip up, and I had an X-Acto knife. So I kept it old school. Was it a mistake?
only cutting a very simple face in, and the same one in practically all of them? Well, I don't know. What do you think? There's two things that make the magic. The other's the hats. And you should be able to imagine the cutting out part, but after cutting it straight out so that I could pull out the pieces, I gave an extra angle to the lower part for the teeth. And that, I think, will help too when they're lit up. And the part maybe you can't imagine, an old scrub from the kitchen. Okay, don't go to the dollar store to buy them for pottery. Just take the old ones from the kitchen. The Ewa Pottery really cut these rough and left them rough. I'm just doing the slightest bit of refining so it's smooth on the outside, and so that if a child puts their fingers in there, they don't get cut on the sharp bits. And after the scrub, okay, real quick with the wet. And that is it, Mr. Pumpkinhead. And there's that big smile. You won't be smiling if you forget and leave some of the pieces in there, and they fire permanently to the bottom of the pot. I think the hats do it. I think the hats, okay, are the trick to turn these guys into a treat. And I think the simple face smiling out, that's the way we were going with this. Old school pumpkins. Now we still need one more trick. The firing to bring out the color and the black in the hats.